We're all taught to think that early success is the ultimate prize. It's proof that you're smart, you're driven, you're on the right track. But what if that's not just wrong, but completely backward? We're going to dive into a really fascinating perspective from Carl Jung, who saw something totally different in people who struggled early on. He didn't see a pattern of failure. He saw a sign of a much deeper, more complex kind of growth.
Have you ever felt that? That sinking feeling in your gut that you're just not hitting life's milestones on time? You look over your shoulder and it feels like everybody is lapping you while you're just stuck. Well, Jung had a powerful explanation for this feeling. And trust me, it's not at all what you'd expect.
Think about it. Society basically hands us this rigid, one-size-fits-all timeline, right? By 30, bam, you need to have your career all figured out. By 40, you'd better be financially stable. And by 50, you should be building some kind of legacy. If you miss any of these marks, it's so easy to feel like you failed. But this whole timeline completely ignores what's really going on inside us.
So let's start right there. Let's pull apart this whole myth of early success. What does that path actually demand from you? And more importantly, why might that path be not just a bad fit for some of us, but actually psychologically dangerous? And when you break it down, you really start to see the hidden costs. The fast track to success, it almost always rewards speed over real, deep understanding. It encourages you to imitate what works for others instead of doing the hard work of self-reflection. It forces you to adapt to the outside world before you even have a clue who you are, making you align with external goals over your own inner truth.
Okay, so what happens when your inner self, your psyche, just can't or won't conform to those demands? Well, that brings us to our next idea, the psyche's quiet resistance. This is where we get to reframe what looks like failure or indecision as something way more profound, a powerful form of self-protection. You see, Jung basically saw two broad types of people. You've got the outward-facing folks. They're flexible, they can absorb the values of the world around them pretty easily and just go. But then you have the inward-oriented psyche. And this type is a whole different animal. It's more complex, it's more sensitive, and for this person, trying to adapt that quickly comes at a massive psychological price.
And this, right here, this is the core of it. For that inward-oriented person, the psyche has this amazing built-in defense mechanism. It will literally create obstacles. It'll drain your motivation, it'll sow confusion if it senses that the path you're on is a betrayal of who you really are. It's not a bug, it's a feature.
This is a concept Jung called psychological prevention, and it's so powerful. All that delay, all that hesitation and confusion, it isn't random, and it isn't a punishment. It's your psyche hitting the emergency brakes to stop you from building a whole life on a foundation that's not true to you, which would only lead to a much, much more painful collapse down the road.
So this naturally leads to a period of what we can call invisible inner work. Because even though on the outside it looks like you're going nowhere, on the inside, a tremendous amount of construction is happening. It's a tough phase, nobody sees it, but it is absolutely crucial. And let's just sit with that for a second. If you've been through this, you know exactly what this feels like. Your friends, your family, they might see you as stagnant or directionless. And you feel so misunderstood, maybe you even start to judge yourself for it. But the reality is, you weren't idling, you were incubating. You were doing the incredibly hard work of confronting your shadow, that's Jung's term for all the parts of ourselves we'd rather ignore, like our doubts, our envy, our feelings of inadequacy. You were questioning the ambitions you just inherited from your family or society. You were building an inner foundation while everyone else was building their external resume. You were dismantling illusions. That's not nothing, that's everything. Then after all that deep, messy internal work, something starts to happen. A shift. This is the turning point, where all that confusion starts to clear and it gives way to a totally new kind of orientation. You finally start to find your own inner compass.
So what does this actually look like? Well, first, the comparison just fades. Other people's timelines, their wins and losses, they no longer feel like a judgment on your life. Second, your ambition gets crystal clear. It's not about advancement for its own sake anymore. It's about finding a life that feels coherent, that feels whole. And third, your autonomy skyrockets. You become your own anchor. Praise doesn't get you high, and criticism doesn't crush you.
This, right here, this is the whole shift in a nutshell. That frantic, anxious energy of trying to catch up to everyone else, it just evaporates. And it's replaced by this quiet, steady preparation to live authentically on your own damn terms. You're not a runner in their race anymore. You're an artist getting your own canvas ready.
And that deep preparation leads us to the final, beautiful stage, the authentic return. This is the moment when all that inner coherence you've built finally starts to express itself in the outer world. It leads to a new kind of action that is deliberate, it's powerful, and it's sustainable.
I mean, just feel the difference between these two energies. Early success is so often driven by a fear of falling behind. It's frantic, it's compensatory, it's trying to prove something. But this other way, this individuated movement, oh, that's completely different. It comes from a place of inner wholeness. It's calm, it's deliberate, and because it's truly aligned with who you are, you can keep it up. And this is the superpower of the person who took the scenic route, the so-called late bloomer. Your effort feels clean because you're not at war with yourself anymore. You conserve so much energy, which means you have incredible endurance and way less burnout. Your actions have real weight because they come from an integrated self. And your influence on others becomes the steady, stabilizing force, not a dominating one.
This quote from Jung it really says it all, doesn't it? The ultimate goal of this entire journey isn't to hit some milestone by a certain age. The real prize, the true privilege of a lifetime, is the process of becoming whole, of becoming the person you were always meant to be, without having to sell your soul to get there.
So I'll leave you with this final thought to really chew on. What if you were never actually falling behind? What if every single delay, every moment of confusion, every frustrating detour was actually your psyche's greatest act of protection, quietly saving you for the life you were truly meant to live?